And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar None 11970. As always, I'd like to start my videos by thanking you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And this is going to be another inspirational video that will hopefully help you think in a different way, think in a better way, and help you, what I like to say, understand about how you can improve your life and things that you do need to hear. Now, before I start, I always wait a minute or two for people to see that I am live. So if you're watching this already processed and pre-recorded and ready uploaded, one thing I recommend is YouTube does its best to flag my videos instantly. They will make sure you cannot see it if you don't search for it. So if you like my videos, just make sure you come to my channel and check, because YouTube's going to make it very difficult for you to get notified, even if you hit that little bell icon that's a reminder. So with that being said, it is the 12th of October 2017. It is currently 8:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm already starting to see some people come in. So Kevin and Aaron Cruz, if I get it wrong, forgive me. I want to thank you all. And I want to start with a little story. So keep this in mind, that my channel is going to be different than most channels. I'm going to share what my thoughts are, and if it resonates with you, then you definitely came here for a reason. So bear with me when I set everything up. Those of you who've been watching my channel for a while may or may not know that I am a licensed massage therapist. I have been a licensed massage therapist since 1995. Absolutely love what I do, and at this point, I technically have my own business. I rent space in a salon, but I still do massage as well as other activities. And I have some clients that have been following me for years. And I had one of my regular clients, this older woman. She's probably in her late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that area. She's been coming to me for a few years now. And when she came in, she was in a really bad mood. And she says, Chris, I need the aromatherapy today. I'm stressed out. People at work really aggravated me. I need you to basically calm me down. And I knew something was wrong. You could see it in a person's body language. Your body language will tell you everything you need to know about yourself. So the one thing I love about massage is you're going to get different people all the time. You're going to have some people that just want absolute quiet. You'll have some people that like to talk. She's one of those older women, I guess, because she lives alone, and she's a little bit on the heavier side, so she doesn't get out much. She has a lot of insecurities. She likes to talk, and I like that. So over the years, I started talking about a lot of things I believed in. And in the beginning, she kind of thought, whatever, it's silly or crazy or whatever, and then started researching it and started getting into things herself. So she tends to come to me with a lot of questions that she knows that I can at least answer in a way to help her feel better, just like many people who watch my videos say that they just happen to be at the right time when you need it. And I want to show you that things don't really happen by coincidence. That things just miraculously happen right when you need them to. You create those things. So her situation was she had some problem with some people at work. She didn't get into the full details, but basically she said they annoyed the living daylights out of her, and she was very mad. And over the conversation, I've tried to let her know, and this has to do with you as well, that I've said this in many videos. Pain and negativity are ways that are going to make you pay attention. And if you can learn something from a situation and improve it, you will fix that problem and you will better yourself. Now, here's the ironic part that most people don't want to hear, and this is why I titled this, You Need to Hear This. Since the universe is made of electricity, we're all made of atoms, and everything is made of atoms, molecules, energy in motion. Different vibrations depend on the speed of a molecule and its vibration. That's why sound, light, and what seems solid are all made from the same material. And everything's held together through magnetism. In other words, you're attracted to things or pull into things. And I talk about deeper levels of thought where you can manifest things in your life. And that's why the video I made the other day, like I always say, that your words have different meanings in them. When you put passion into something, it matters. If you don't put passion into something, well, it doesn't matter. Well, what is everything made of? It's made of matter. So you create your universe. Whether you believe in it or not is irrelevant, because that's why they put the word lie in belief. But when it comes to something that comes to you, especially something that comes to you often, in other words, like if you've had bad relationships where somebody may be abusive, for example, and no matter how many new people you find, it's a different person but same scenario, it's coming to you for a reason. And what people don't want to hear is that you actually draw these things into you. You pull them in. So anything that presents itself to you, whether good or bad, you actually pull that energy towards you so you can learn from it. And the problem is, since this world teaches you to depend on others to take care of you and not take responsibility for what you do, you tend to see negative things, for example, as woe is me, and you'll start drinking or doing drugs or be abusive or take it out on your friends and family or loved ones, or maybe somebody that makes a YouTube video. And you never fix the problem, and it keeps repeating itself. It becomes a cycle. So when I mentioned to her the problem and said to her, what you need to do is think about why that energy presented itself to you to the point where it affected you, and what can you learn from it. And if you can do that, you could solve the puzzle. And she said things like, why does life have to be so complicated? Why is it always difficult? Well, let me ask you this. If you had a puzzle, if somebody gave you a box and said, here's your birthday present, it's a puzzle, and the puzzle had 2 pieces to it that you just connected together, that's pretty easy, right? But how challenging and how fun would that be to know that you put those 2 pieces together to form the picture? It's not going to be very fun. It's not going to be very challenging. And you may do it once, but you'll never do it again. A puzzle that's hard, that seems almost impossible to do, will make you want to give up, make you get frustrated. But if you actually take the time and effort to complete that image, you're going to be very satisfied. You're going to be filled with gratification that you achieved something that was so difficult. So the more effort you put into your life, the more you're going to get out of it. And in this world where they want you to watch TV all the time, where they want you to just have people like the news or the governments or religion or schools or whatever tell you how to think and how to live, you're always looking outside. So when something negative, for example, comes your way, you'll always tend to say things like, well, woe is me. Why does this always happen? And you'll start cursing whatever God you believe in, or decide you don't believe in a creator anymore, or you'll get angry, or you'll do drugs, or do something negative, instead of looking from within and saying, okay, the world and the universe is made of energy. Since I have magnetism in this universe, and you attract things, whatever's coming my way, I'm either consciously or subconsciously attracting to me because I need to learn something from it. And it's like going to school. Why do people get left back? They get left back because they didn't learn what they were supposed to learn. Whether it's the way you think it is, the school system, the education system, that's not the point. The point is, if you don't learn something, you're going to have to learn the same thing over and over again until you learn it. But once you learn it, there's no need for it to be in your life anymore because you get it. So if there's something in your life that continues to happen, no matter what you try and do, that means you haven't learned something. And because even subconsciously, there's a saying that says, be careful what you wish for, you may get it. And we need to, what I like to call, understand what is approaching us from the perspective of what can I learn from it to make my world a better place, where it will matter, because you will manifest and create matter from your own feelings. Whether you believe in that or not, again, is irrelevant. So it's all about taking responsibility. Now, one of the biggest things people will tell you is, oh, just ignore things, they'll go away. If you had a bad day, like the average person would have had that scenario where their coworkers, for whatever reason, just really aggravated them to the point where they're mad. Now, I asked her a question. When you were driving to get the massage, you were pretty aggravated, right? She's like, yeah. When you were walking into the salon that I work at, you were pretty aggravated when you were walking in, right? Right. She agreed. When you came up to me, the first thing you said is, you need an aromatherapy session with the aromatherapy oils because it helps her to relax because you are aggravated, right? She says, right. And I said, well, they aggravated you at work, correct? And she says, yes. Well, I said, are they aggravating you right now? He said, well, no, they're not here. And I said, and yet you are still feeling the very thing that they did that is already past. So are they doing it to you, or are you doing it to you? Now, it doesn't take away from the fact that there are going to be people who do mean and cruel and wrong things, hurtful things. That doesn't give them the free pass. But like, for example, if somebody made fun of you today and it hurt your feelings, well, once they finish the words, you have the choice of continuing to think about that, continuing to allow it to frustrate you and hurt you, and continue that pain. Or you could say, well, it was just somebody else's opinion. They don't have to agree with what I agree with. They thought of it in an abusive way. That says more about them than it ever will me. And you let it go. It no longer affects you anymore. So you have control. In other words, what's happening is when somebody throws negativity your way, that's their way of saying, I have some negativity in my life that I can't handle, I can't deal with. So I'm going to present it to you. Now, here's the thing you may not think about. Do you have to accept it? Think about it like playing the game of hot potato. Have you ever played that as a kid, where you have a potato or something else and you pass it along, and when you get it, you're supposed to give it away before they say time out or count to 10 or whatever happens, and the person that has it is out? You don't have to hold on to something that somebody gives you. And if you think of energy like a gift, it could be both good and bad. You've had both good and bad presents in your lifetime. If you have a bad present, do you keep it or do you return it? Or some people just re-gift it. Think of energy the same way. If somebody presents you with negative energy, in other words, they're mad for whatever reason, and instead of them dealing with it, they want to pass it on to you by calling you names or hurting you or making your day rather difficult or stealing from you or doing some kind of damage. It only affects you if you allow it. Now, obviously, if somebody's physically abusing you, that's a little different. But it's the same thing. It's all about moving away. Because if you're standing outside and a mosquito bites you, that's bad that it did. It's going to hurt, maybe. But if you continue to stay there and just say, oh, woe is me, and allow other mosquitoes to come in and bite you, well, whose fault is that? And instead of blaming the mosquito for what it's supposed to naturally do, you look in yourself and say, what can I do to correct the problem? And so many people are so afraid to look in within themselves, and they would rather be passive-aggressive, or they want to hurt somebody else and transfer that energy to people, and many people will take it. And I said to her, maybe that's one of the things you need to learn, that you have the power to not just specifically say, no, I don't want to hear it, but mentally say, I'm not going to let it bother me. Because once they said it, it's bad enough. I don't know the whole scenario of what they did, and I didn't want to know because that's irrelevant. That's for her to decide on whatever happened, because we don't need to bring up and relive the negative part. It's about thinking about, what do you do from here? Because there will be people who will not like you, not agree with you, and some people will flat out hate you just for the fact that they don't like the way your hair is parted, or the way your voice sounds, or the fact that you smile too much, or you're always what they like to call a negative Nancy. There's always some reason for somebody to not like you. I have plenty of people, even on my comic book channel that I have, that don't like me just because of what other people made claims about me. That's what people do. But if you allow it, like I did at one point, where you always feel like you have to defend yourself, then you'll always have something to defend from. In other words, I did not learn from what was being presented to me. I didn't understand that I was the one that was manifesting that negativity, and not realizing, because you need realize to realize, that I could just dismiss it. Push it away. Say, no, thank you. You ever hear that saying, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks onto you? Well, think of it that way. If somebody's in a bad mood, they want to transfer it to somebody else instead of dealing with it because that's an easier thing to do. It's like the game of hot potato. Get rid of it as fast as you can. And people are trained to ignore things. So I said to the woman that this whole conversation is about, I said, I got some homework for you to do tonight. I don't want you, because now you feel better, and she admitted she felt better. And I said, what a coincidence that it happened the very day that you booked your massage. Because she books a massage every 2 weeks. And the thing that aggravated the living daylights out of her happened today. And I said to her, do you think that's a coincidence that it happened on the very same day and right before you're about to do something that will help you fix it and see it in a different way? And J-Man, that's good that you're exuberant about Bitcoins, but if you want to believe in something that is all based solely on greed, that's good for you. I wouldn't recommend it, J-Man. So it's good that you're happy about Bitcoins, but I'd be very careful about those because they use people's emotions against you for them, and that's all about greed based on something that is nothing. So that's what I'm going to just say about that. I have nothing. You have every right to do it, but I wouldn't be too happy about something like that. Be careful. So what I was saying is, I want your homework assignment is not to go home and pretend it didn't happen. And that's what many people do. They tell you, oh, just forget about it. Don't pay attention to it. It'll go away. Well, then you're not dealing with it. And that means it'll come back again. And I tell people, think about it like your teeth. If you don't brush your teeth and ignore your teeth, they'll go away. But is that a good thing? So my point to her was, when you go home tonight, even though she admitted that I helped her to see it differently and she did feel better, and I said, how much of during the massage, because she does an hour-long massage, said, how many times in the hour-long massage while we were talking did you actually feel that negativity about what they caused? She said, none. It's like, well, good. Now I want you to go home, and instead of just saying, well, I'm going to go home and watch TV or take a hot bath or eat some ice cream and just forget the day ever happened, I want you to reflect on what it was that was manifesting in front of you, what you can learn from it, and deal with it right then and there so it never has to come back again. And most people just say, well, you turn the other cheek. Now, I'm not saying be abusive and do the other things that they caused hurt, because two wrongs don't make a right. But it doesn't mean you should ignore it, because there's always ways to fix things. Like they say, turn the other cheek. Well, that means you are opening up the other cheek and saying, here, now you can hit me on this one. You don't have to punch back. You don't have to shoot them. You don't have to hurt them. You don't have to set them on fire. But you don't have to stand there either. You can walk away. You can run away. You can ask for help. You can defend yourself. There's more than one way to do things. But people that try and control your life to profit from it will always make you think you have limited options. You have as many options as you want to believe in, which means you can have infinite, or you can only have one, or you could say you have no choice whatsoever. Every single one of them is your version of your truth, or somebody else's version of their truth. That's why you can have people on two ends of a different spectrum all saying that their side is completely correct. Because each person's truth is according to their own version of truth. And you will always have the universe, because, again, everything's made of energy and is being held together through magnetism. You will always pull in verification and manifest your truth. In other words, what matters to you? Because the world creates matter. And I've said so many times, it's in the words. Is that just a coincidence? If you want to believe it is, you're going to have plenty of justification for that. If you want to see deeper, you will have that aha moment. Well, wait a minute. If I care about something, it matters. Chris is always talking about how you could manifest your own reality. Well, you're manifesting energy into something that is made of matter. What a coincidence. So if you have some kind of negativity in your life and it keeps repeating itself, instead of saying, woe is me, instead of getting on your knees and praying to whatever God you want to pray to, instead of drinking it away or pushing it on to somebody else or trying to pretend it doesn't exist by ignoring it, deal with it. Face it head on. Say no thank you. Remember, consent has more to do with just regular law. You don't have to consent to somebody giving you their negative energy. Because if somebody made fun of you, yeah, that's a bad thing, but that's on them. If you keep allowing it to stir you up and hurt you, then who's doing that if they're no longer saying it? You're continuing to do it. So why would you do that to yourself? That's like somebody punching you, which is a rude thing and a wrong thing to do, and you shouldn't do it, and then you go and continue to punch yourself. And you wonder why you're hurting. And that is why if you look at negativity in a different way, you use it as a tool, because you will remember things that are bad more than you will ever remember anything that's good. Because if I said right now, name 5 great things in your childhood that you can remember, you might have to struggle a little bit. But if I said name 5 horrible things that happened to you, not only will you be able to think about it, you may remember the smell of what was going on. You remember some conversation that was happening at the time, or what television show was on at the moment, or what you were wearing. It tends to be more detailed because it leaves an imprint. So be careful what you wish for. If all of a sudden you say, oh, I hate my house and I need to move somewhere. Well, is it any surprise that all of a sudden you lose your job? All of a sudden your income gets lost and you can't pay your bills, and all of a sudden you get a foreclosure and they take away your house? Well, be careful what you wished for. Now you have to move. So instead of saying, woe is me, and feeling sorry for yourself, or having other people try and take care of you, you do it yourself. And people don't want that responsibility because that takes effort. So when somebody's angry at the world, it's easy for them to project that anger towards you. That's why I have some people that have been stalking me for years. So that's on them. For years, there are people that are stalking me just to thumb down my video or say something nasty if they could. That means for years they've been holding on to this anger. And what have I ever done to anybody? My videos are not about starting fights. And even back in 2012, I wanted to get into a fight with a YouTuber. And he's one of the people. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not listening right now. Still stalks to this day. I won't say their name, but they know who they are. And yet, that's something in 2012, which was 5 years ago. If you're still holding on to something 5 years ago that still makes you angry as it did then that says a lot more about you than it ever will about me, because I could make that mistake and take things too seriously, but learn from it and never have it happen again. But if you hold on to the same thing over and over again, who are you hurting? You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your loved ones. Because if you come home mad all the time, or stressed out all the time, or depressed all the time, you think you're going to give your all to the loved ones that you have? And is it any wonder why they eventually might want to leave or do leave? People don't want to take responsibility. That's why they want to go to counselors. That's why they want governments to take care of them and religions to tell you everything's going to be fine. You have to look inside yourself and face your fears, face the things that are confronting you, and say, what do I need to do to make it better? What do I need to learn so it doesn't have to continue? Because people are so afraid to face their fears that they don't realize that not facing their fears allows them to continue to come at you. So the very thing you don't want keeps happening because you refuse to face it. And if you actually face it and solve the problem, there's no need for that problem to keep presenting itself. It's like learning 2 + 2 is 4. If you can't learn it, you're going to have people still try and teach it to you. Once you learn it, you don't need somebody to teach you anymore. It's the same thing with things in your life. It's all about taking responsibility. And J-Man Truthseeker, that was very nice of you. So thank you for that. So, I mean, I could feel sorry for myself. I used to have, when I had 10,000 subscribers here, my average views on some videos were in the hundreds of thousands. My average videos were at least 3,000 to 5,000. It would go down and up sometimes. Now I'm lucky if I get 700 on a video. I went from making at one point, I would make $400 or $500 a month with ad revenue. Now I make 75. So I could feel depressed. I could give up. But how many people would miss out on things that I say that people say help them? Because it's all about getting rid of anger, dealing with it. When the world hands you lemons, You could make lemonade. You could take that juice and squeeze it in somebody's eye. Doesn't make you a nice person for doing it, but you can. And that's why the world is all about being so these social justice warriors, being offended about everything that they say. Well, be careful what you wish for, because if you want the government, for example, to regulate what people can and cannot say, eventually so many people will be offended by so many different things that you won't be able to say a word. I have the right to say whatever I want, just like you do, but there are consequences for those as well. Because if you are a racist person, and let's say you're a Asian American who doesn't like African Americans, and you own a local shop, and you all the time say, I hate African Americans, you have the right to say it, even though it's not nice, but do you think it might affect your business? Of course it will. There's consequences. I could go up to a person and say, you're a complete idiot. I have the right to say it, but they also have the right to punch me in the face. And why should I feel surprised by that? If I went up to a hornet's nest and smacked it around, and all I did was just slapped it around, kidding around, if all the hornets come out and sting me, why should I cry that I got the worst end of the deal? I caused the initiation. Don't blame the hornets for what you chose to do. It's all about taking responsibility. Governments don't want you to take responsibility. Religions don't want you to take responsibility. Why? Because they can't profit off of people who think and believe things for themselves, and do things for themselves. That's why they can get people to wave national flags and go and murder and be killed, so they could profit off of whatever they can take from what you destroyed or helped to destroy. And people will thank you for your service. Thank you for murdering other people that I don't know about. Thank you for allowing a particular government to steal somebody else's resources so I can get a cheaper cell phone. These are the things people don't want to hear. And if you are afraid to listen to the real truth, then how can you ever fix it? How can you ever make it better? You cannot put a Band-Aid on a gushing wound and expect it to help you heal. So when life presents something to you, realize, because you need real eyes to realize, that either consciously or subconsciously, you manifested that and pulled it into your universe. You attracted it to you for some reason. You could sit there and feel sorry for yourself. You can drink yourself to death or half to death. You can become an abusive person, or you can ignore it, or maybe you could just listen to it, figure it out, learn from it, and then you don't need that in your life anymore. You will learn more from your pain than you ever will from your joy. If you are great at your job, if somebody keeps patting you on the back and telling you everything that you're doing right, will you improve from that? What if somebody tells you all the things you're doing wrong? Well, you can get all defensive and say, how dare you tell me what I'm doing wrong? Or you could say, thank you for telling me what I'm doing wrong, so I can improve myself and become better at what I do. But so many people get so offended if you say something they don't like. How is that helping them? Now, you shouldn't go around hurting people purposely. There are going to be people that do that. But that doesn't mean you have to be that person. You ever hear the expression of two wrongs don't make a right? And we all have to learn that, myself included. And that's why I was so happy about what happened earlier with that woman with the massage, because not only did I help her, she helped remind me. And it's what inspired this video. And if you appreciate this video, it wouldn't have happened if that situation did not present itself. So you think that's coincidence? Especially if you're watching this, whether you're watching it live right now or you watch it as it's already been uploaded days, weeks, and months later. If it answers a need and a desire or a fear or a concern you had at that moment, you really want to take it as chance or coincidence? Instead of realizing that it is you that needed an answer that was right there and presented itself to you at that right moment? That's a heck of a bad world if everything is based on coincidence. Instead of realizing that you manifest things, you attract things through magnetism, and it always answers your problems. It's when you don't believe in it is when it doesn't happen, because if you don't believe you have that power, the universe is going to give you exactly what you believe. If your heart is, oh, everything's BS and everything's random, well, isn't it any wonder that everything's random and it's confirming your belief? You're manifesting what matters to you, even if it's something you don't want. Because maybe it just makes your life easier. You could sit at home and watch TV all day and watch the world go by, but whose fault is that if you didn't achieve everything that you wanted? Then it doesn't mean you're going to get everything that you want, because if you had everything, what would there be to do? If you complete a puzzle, once it's done, you don't complete it again. Or you may not want to complete it again. To appreciate the tests, the challenges, the difficulties. Because they are what separates the people who give up and the people who never give up. Which one do you choose to be? It's easier to give up. It's easy to be angry. It's easier to be destructive and hateful. It doesn't take an effort. You do not need any formal education to be mean and hurt somebody. You don't need to know anything other than you can roll up your fist into a ball and throw it at somebody and cause somebody pain. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to achieve that. It doesn't take intelligence to have a building and destroy it, or take somebody's creation and destroy it. It takes a lot more effort to create it. If I wanted to paint something, I'm not an artist. So if I wanted to make something look beautiful, I would have to research into it. I'd have to practice it. I'd have to try and try again, fail many times, not give up. And maybe after a couple of months or maybe a couple of years of really doing my best, I could present something that looks really good. But it only takes 2 seconds for somebody to come along with a lighter and burn it away. You think that takes intelligence? So it's easy to do nothing. It's easy to not take responsibility. It's easy to look the other way and turn the other cheek. Religion teaches you to turn the other cheek. So in other words, while they're stealing from you, while they're lying to you, while they're starting religious wars in which you go and kill and die for, they're telling you that let us abuse you, let us lie from you, let us steal from you, just turn the other cheek. In other words, just bend over and take it, whatever we give you, and thank us for it. Same thing with government. And we wonder why everything's going bad, why we're not a utopia. I mean, both religion and governments have had millennia of practice to perfect it. And are we getting better or are we getting worse? And yet these are the people we put our trust in. You have to look inside you. Your whole life, people are telling you to wait around for Superman to come and save you, when you don't realize that you are Superman. You're waiting for you. Well, you're going to wait forever, because if you don't realize it's you, that Superman will never arrive, because you don't know it's you. Look in the mirror. If you don't have a job, well, you can complain, you can make excuses, you could say there's no jobs out there, or you could do everything that you can to find one. It's all about priority. If you smoke and you don't want to smoke anymore, well, look at that piece of cancer stick in your hand and say, is my life worth these few pieces of tobacco? Look what it'll do to your children or your loved ones if you died from that cigarette that you say you can't give up because it's too addicting. Well, that's your truth. If you say cigarettes are too addicting and you can't quit them, well, what's the incentive to do it when you've already condemned it to the truth of you can't do it? Even though that's not what you want, because you're not willing to take responsibility. I used to drink 4 or 5 nights a week when I was DJing, lead singer of a band, because I was DJing 4 nights a week. I was in a band with band practice the other 2 or 3 nights a week, and I was drinking rum and cokes where they were 90% rum, and I would drink 5 or 6 of them and wouldn't do anything. And when I worked at the bars, I didn't have to wait for a bartender to make a drink for me. I used to go behind the bar and make it myself. And then one day, I decided I didn't want to drink anymore. That was about 3 years ago. And in my basement, I still have bottles of liquor that were from my partying days, when my house used to be the party house. I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And I literally, for years, would drink 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And drink a lot. You have all the power to do or not do something based on what you are willing to put out and put in your body and soul and mind. You may not be able to fly to the stars, because maybe that's not your destiny to do that. But there's plenty of things that you can do that others wish they can do. You may not be the best singer in the world, but you're definitely not the worst singer in the world. You may not be the best looking person in the world, but you are definitely not the least attractive person in the world. Be happy with who you are, and if you're not, don't sit there and say, woe is me. You sit there and say, what can I do to make my life better? Because if you're waiting for somebody else to do it for you, you're going to be waiting a very long time. And maybe videos like this are things I need to hear as well. So not only does it help you, and I hope it does, maybe it helps me. And that means it happens for a reason. So whatever you want to believe is true, you're going to get confirmation from it. So if you're sitting here rolling your eyes saying this guy is an idiot and none of this stuff is true, you're going to get validation for your truth. In other words, that's what matters to you. You're going to create that matter, so your truth is going to be justified, because that's how powerful you are. You're so powerful that if you don't believe in something, the universe will create the very thing to confirm that you were right. I want you to think about that. So if you've been depressed or sad or angry, it's easy to point fingers. It's easy to blame others. You could pretend that you could just ignore it and it'll go away, or you could face it, deal with it, and learn from it. When something presents itself, stop saying, I can't believe these things keep coming to me. Maybe you should say, why am I pulling this negative energy towards me? What do I need to learn from it? Because obviously I care about myself so much that I am not letting it stop. It's just like a parent. If, God forbid, they saw their child drowning, you don't think they're going to do everything in their power to save that child until either one of two things happens. That one, they save the child, or two, there's no saving the child. You think a parent's going to go in half-ass, seeing their child drowning, and say, well, I'll try. It's difficult. Look how far out he or she is. I don't know. I don't like the water, and the water's cold. It's a cold day. I might catch a cold. Or do you think that parent's going to dive in? They won't care if there's sharks surrounding. They don't care if they're in danger because there's a whirlpool. They'll do everything in their power to either save that child or die trying. If you put the rest of your life in that same kind of mindset, because that's all it is, you can achieve almost anything. Unless you believe it's too impossible. Now, I don't want anybody to do anything stupid like say, oh, I could fly, so you're going to jump off a bridge. Because if you think about it, if you want to think you could fly, well, can't you do it right off the ground? If that's the case, why would you need to jump off a bridge? It's kind of stupid, because if you find out you can't do it, you're in a lot of trouble. But if you try and jump in the air and you can't do it, at least you didn't die. So I don't recommend anybody doing anything silly. Go within the realm of the third dimensional plane. But if you want to quit smoking or quit drinking, learn how to do it. If you don't want to abuse your wife or your husband, well, then stop doing it. Stop making excuses. Stop saying, oh, well, my mother or my father beat me, so that's why I do it. Or I was abused as a child, so I have to abuse my child. No, you don't. You just choose to do it because when people hurt others, that's a sign of weakness, not a sign of strength. Abusing somebody, especially somebody that's weaker than you, is not a sign of strength, even if everybody thinks it is. It's a sign of weakness. Strength is protecting something, putting your life on the line for something, doing something that most people would be too afraid to do, and achieving what others said can't be done. When the world says you can't do something, you can either believe it or prove them wrong. So this video is either the biggest waste of your time, the biggest joke, or something that could turn your life around. That's up to you to decide. I'm not here to tell you any way that you need to live. You could think this is complete BS, or you could think this is the best thing and that it's absolutely what you needed to hear. But if you think it's coincidence when it answers questions that you may have been asking, you're not believing in yourself enough. It's bad enough everybody else doesn't believe in you. If you don't believe in you, what's the purpose of being here? You're not living, you're just existing. You want to find your purpose in life? Go seek it. Seek and you shall find. Or sit around and wait for Superman and wonder why it never comes. Or Superwoman. So since this video is already 40 minutes long, and I know how much people love to watch my entire video, some of you do, and I thank you for that, I'm going to end this video right now. I want to thank J-Man Truthseeker and Ed Brooks, and let's see who else commented today. I want to give some credit where credit is due. Slimeathon, good to see you. He actually comes to my We Loves Comics channel. Chris Monet, Lewis the 14th, Aaron Cruz, Bradley Alex, and Kevin Cope, and John. Those are the only people that commented, but those are the people I care about. Those who are listening for the wrong reasons, I hope you do something that improves your life. I hope something in this video actually made you think in a different way. If you want to spend your whole life being mean and cruel, all you're doing is saying that you are not strong enough to make your life better to where you can help people instead of hurting people. Because hurting people and making fun of people is the easy way out. And if you want easy, that's what you're going to get. But you're going to be angry 5 years from now, just like you were angry 5 years ago. That's not who I want to be, and I'm sure that's where most of you don't want to be. So thanks for listening. I always appreciate everybody that listens. I absolutely love those that thumb these videos up and share them. Remember, like I said earlier, in case you missed it, YouTube is already going to flag this video. So if you want to join my Patreon account, there's a link. It's not mandatory, but if you do, I always appreciate it. It does help. If you share it, who knows, because YouTube makes that difficult. But hey, all you could do is try, and that's fine, because I do it for the few people that find it. If you find this and you're here for the right reasons, it shows how powerful you are. Because even though YouTube and Google and the government is trying to block this and make it difficult, you still found your way here. Again, not a coincidence. That's how powerful you are. That even with all that resistance, you still found a way. Incorporate that with the rest of your life, and you'd be amazed at what you can achieve. Thanks for listening. Have a great night, and I'll see you next video.